Good morning. Happy Thursday, March 23rd, 2017. Welcome to Thursday. We're almost to Friday, which is awesome because then we get the weekend. Good morning. I'm Johnny B, coming to you from South Central Pennsylvania. And I had really good feedback from my talk yesterday on no-till garden and some good questions from people around the country. So I just want to hang on this topic today for a little bit, go into it a little bit further. Why go no-till? First of all, I want to say that part of the information that I've studied is a technique or a philosophy called permaculture. Permaculture is a philosophy of gardening, and actually it encompasses your whole existence, your house and your yard and your gardens. But the basic premise that I like to take from it that I want to share with you is that you try to minimize the input and maximize the output. In other words, try to use less gas, less of your labor, less purchased chemicals. Actually, no chemicals, but as far as fertilizer, try to minimize the things the expenses and the labor and the time you put into it. And so that's one of the reasons why we go to no-till. And one of the examples that the permaculture folks like to use is the forest. If you walk into the forest, these beautiful trees and the undergrowth and the berries and nuts that grow naturally, hey, no one's in there tilling the ground or doing anything. This stuff just grows, and if you dig down underneath all the mulch, because there's going to be leaf litter and all kinds of stuff laying on rotten wood laying on the ground, but if you scrape this stuff back and look at the rich soil underneath, it kind of gives you an idea of where we're trying to get to with the no-till garden and minimizing our input. Nature has this down, okay? We just got to learn to work with nature and to take advantage of what's already here. So the first reason is compaction. The first reason we go to no-till gardening is so that we can keep from compacting our soil. When you're in the till mode, like I was for so many years, your rows change. Of course, you're making your deadpan layer at the bottom just due to the tilling method. And your walkways can change every year if you don't have everything laid out the same from year to year. So the reason I go to no-till, and I purposely, my cat's being noisy behind me, sorry. We reduce compaction because we plan where our paths are. And so once you have your path, like I showed you yesterday, you don't ever walk or compact the soil in your rows that you're growing in. Now, the benefit of that is that you're going to just create an environment, a natural environment for the food web, because in the forest there's no there's no compaction in the forest, and so the food web is free to just exist, and there's so when the soil is fluffy, the oxygen can get down in there and benefit the root systems and the food web. And when your soil is not compacted, your root growth is going to be much greater. And so compaction is one of the reasons. The other reason that I've learned is that seeds, they're spread by wind, especially weed seeds is what I'm talking about. They're spread by winds and animals. When they eat a berry or a seed and it passes through them, they distribute that all over the place. And these seeds can be buried in the soil. They've proven that when you till up soil that hasn't been farmed or gardened, they find seeds in there from hundreds of years ago. And guess what? Those seeds, when they get up close enough to get light to them and moisture, they'll sprout. And so one of the reasons we don't till is to keep those seeds buried. I know that every time, every season that I would till, my garden will look beautiful, and I'd lay out my rows, and I always used to bring the soil up into rows. But you know, it wasn't 2 or 3, 4 days later, the whole thing would be covered with little, weeds coming up, and I could not figure that out. Well, this is part of the reason is that when you till, you're going to bring all the seeds up from years and years of being distributed. You're going to bring those up. They're going to germinate and cause weeds in your garden. So those are the 2 main reasons to go to no-till. And then I want to touch on a mulch question that I had yesterday. Hey, what do you use for mulch? It's really easy. And a lot of things. I've listed a few, but you can use a lot of things. The thing you have to keep in mind is you don't want to put anything in your garden that when it breaks down is going to put chemicals into your garden. Okay, so I've used newspaper, but never colored newspaper, just black and white, because the ink is basically oil and carbon, and the paper, of course, is made from wood. I use cardboard, but never cardboard that comes in a pretty box that's printed with a bunch of ink. Grass clippings. Now you got to be careful with grass clippings because they'll bind up and kind of make a nasty thick layer. And so really what you need to do with your grass clippings is put it in a pile and keep fluffing it to where it all dries out. But you can use grass, and especially in places that you don't want weeds but you're really not going to plant, you can put grass clippings down and it really will suppress the weeds. And then of course leaves, straw, not hay but straw, and then compost. And I'm going to do a couple of series on compost. But you can find manure to compost, and that you can compost your kitchen and yard waste. We're going to delve into compost. It's very important if you're going to go no-till and you're going to grow for years and years to learn how to compost. It's easy and really feeds your garden. But right now I want to talk about leaves. How come leaves are so important for your garden? A tree, if you think about a tree, under the ground, the roots go really deep and far and wide, but much deeper than a garden plant. Because of the mass above ground, it's got to have enough foundation and go deep enough in the ground to keep this massive tree from falling over. Well, the roots down so deep in the ground are drawing up nutrients that really don't exist at the top of the ground. And we're talking minerals. Minerals are so important, because those are the micronutrients that our body needs to help our enzymes do all our cellular functions. And so one of the problems with our current way we do food, you know, the big factory food where we're growing monocrops over acres and acres and acres, we're fertilizing them with NPK, but we're not really replacing the minerals, all the minerals that we need. So the trees do that for us. They'll draw the minerals from deep in the ground that haven't been used up already, and those minerals go up into the tree and go into the leaves. And so just like in the forest, when the leaves fall, they sit on the ground, they get eventually they turn back to dirt, break down, and release those minerals back into the ground. And so I always take my leaves and I try to mulch them up real good, and I use that as compost because that's really going to replace the stuff that the minerals that the plants in your garden are going to take up, make your food much more healthy. So leaves are really important. The other thing I want to say is that when you go and start weeding, pull your weeds up and lay them on top of the mulch, and let those weeds then go back to the dirt and take whatever nutrients they've gotten out of the dirt and replace the nutrients. So you're really trying to recycle everything and put nutrients back into the ground, because every plant that you plant to get fruit from, or vegetables, is drawing nutrients from the ground, so we need to replace it. So the other thing that I do is I plant lots of herbs and flowers, and I chop and drop those through the season. When my herbs, say my parsley is just going crazy, I'll chop some of that up and just lay it on the top of the mulch, and that becomes a chop and drop, or a recycling of the nutrients. So there are 3 things that I do also buy and add to my garden, and we'll probably go over that a lot more when we do the compost section. But ground up rock, and I use a volcanic base product, and then rock phosphate puts calcium in the ground without magnesium. When you use lime, garden lime, there's magnesium and calcium, and the fact is magnesium binds to calcium and doesn't allow your plants to take up the calcium. So if you can go to rock phosphate, which is a natural calcium, the experts say that's best. And then of course seaweed. I have a seaweed product that I use to add micronutrients back into the soil, and you dissolve it in water and you spray it on. It's been very helpful too. So anyway, why go no-till? To reduce compaction and to keep those seeds buried. Okay? So hey, I hope you've enjoyed some of this stuff and it's been helpful. As always, please comment. I'm no expert. I have no certifications. I just have a lot of experience. But I'm always open to learn. So if you have some great tips for me, put them in the comment section. If there's anything you want to talk personally to me about, PM me. Be happy to carry on a conversation with you, get to know you better. My goal is just to help somebody. Help somebody and motivate them to try gardening. It's so healthy to get out and dig in the ground, get into the fresh air, and it's so rewarding to see plants that grow up and give you food. It's more healthy for your body and for your family. It's exciting to see it grow. Plants are beautiful. They're a gift from God. And so if there's anything that I present to you that you find helpful, then that's a win for me. So anyway, as always, I wish for you that you would dream big and work hard and love large. Eat good food, take your vitamins, and be your best self now. I'll see you tomorrow.